Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to this week's episode of the Non-Identity Podcast. Now, this week we're joined by a yoga instructor. It's Danae. Hi, Danae. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lee. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Before we get into what you do with yoga instructing, can you just let everyone know who you are and where you grew up?
Yes, so I love to say my name is Danae, and I'm based in the Bay Area in California. I grew up in San Francisco. I'm a native, and we're a rare breed.
You also are a caregiver. How did that come about?
Yes, I am my father's caregiver. He's facing a third cancer.
Oh, sorry to
Uh,
hear that.
yes, cancer is it's a serious thing. I guess it started with my mom first. I was a secondary caregiver in that regard. She also had a cancer journey and passed in 2009. And now I am my dad's caregiver. I'm primary caregiver. It's exhausting and draining. It's an initiation, but it's also a gift that I get to give to him to serve him that way, and also myself to have that time to be with him and support him in a time that's really, really so hard at times.
And how did you deal with the mental side of that? Because of what I found and what sort of I struggled with the first year after my wife got ill and our life turned upside down completely was, and this is going to sound so horrible, I do battle saying this, but the person who's ill gets a lot of support, like medically, services and that, but it doesn't seem to be much support for the people around and giving the care. And that's started off at first before I seeked therapy. I started building a little bit of resentment because I was
Mhm,
thinking the illness affects both of us. And
mhm.
obviously, the person who's ill needs all that support. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I feel like sometimes, especially in the UK, the medical profession needs to look at the caregivers as well. Was that the same for you, or did you have a positive attitude from the start with it?
I think that's an important point that's often overlooked, Lee. So thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I was handed a caregiver manual in 2017, which I completely discarded because
Yeah,
I thought I know how to take care of my dad. And looking back, I realized it was a manual to help support me, actually, and help provide me with some resources and some information that I might need for caring towards myself. Because, as you know, that it's a lot to be the carer for someone that is their health declining, or they're in a challenging way with their health. We need support too. You're so right about mentioning that.
no, 100%. And I don't know if it's the same with your mother and your father, but I found with my wife's condition, there was a lot of personality change.
Mm.
How how did you navigate around that? Because I always see it as you've lost the old person, so you're going through a grieving process while that person's there, while you're then trying to fall in love with the new person at the same time. Um, was that the same for
Yes.
you? And how did you cope with that?
Gosh, you're really hitting it so truly. Yes. My father is still alive, and I'm grateful for that, but there is some grieving of who he once was, right?
Yeah,
And as he continues to age, things decline and shift, and it's definitely related back to the initial cancer, and now the second, and now the third, have caused so many traumatizing effects. He's blind in one eye, and of course, I want to credit radiation for that, and they won't take credit for it, but it is on the left side, and that's where the beam was. So, 1 + 1 = 2, right? Um, yes, it is something to look closely at, and how we manage it, my dad and I, is with humor, right? We
hundred
like to
percent.
make jokes and be silly with one another. And he's really good at rhyming. If he was here, he'd make a rhyme about Lee. Lee knows how to be extraordinary. He likes to, take the name on the badge and bring some joy to people, and that's how we make it right. We'd rather laugh instead of cry. Nothing against crying. There's a time and a place for all of it, but laughter just brings some levity to the heaviness.
No, I totally resonate with that. I don't think if one thing she did manage to keep, we've always been a jokey couple, and that continues on now. And I think that gets us through the day sometimes because obviously she's in a lot of chronic pain. She has to take a lot of medication. she recognises she ain't who she used to be, and that frustrates her as well. And I think
Hmm.
if we didn't come together and have a laugh, I don't know how we'd get through. So I totally resonate with what you've just said there.
Yes, laughter is the best form of medicine that has no side effects, which is so great, right? Because so much medication has side effects. We make the joke about radiation that it's the gift that keeps on giving because he still has side effects from it, actually.
And how do you self care for yourself? Because I know, like, obviously your life's very busy with other things you do as well. Like, I work, I've got 2 children to bring up as well. So some days you wake up and you just feel in that mood yourself that you can't be bothered,
Mm.
but you know you've got to give that support to the other person. So how do you get through that?
One day at a time, one
100%.
moment at a time. Uh, there was a point where he was sent to a skilled nursing facility. We call them SNFs, like a nursing home. I'm sure you have an equivalent in the
Yeah.
UK. And I drove there every day, 70 miles round trip. I just wanted to
Wow.
be in the room with him, even though he was all looped up on morphine. Maybe he knew I was there, maybe not. And to be so honest, like my eating became horrible. I either didn't eat because he had a feeding tube, or I ate terribly. And then all of a sudden I realized that's damaging Danae. It's gonna be I'm gonna be unable to care for him if I keep going down this path. So I had an awakening myself that I needed to like come back to my yoga practice, come back to my tools that I have, which are, to go on a walk. I love to dance. I have a background in dance. So to make time for that. And even when you're so busy with doing the caregiving, there's at least 1 minute where you can have a bit of peace to connect with your breath or write some words down quickly in a journal to, kind of do a brain dump. There's always one single minute in the day.
And what's it about yoga that sort of helps support the mind mentally? Because I'll be honest, I have gave it a go, but
Yay!
I don't know if the instructor was because of I done it through work and when I was working with the special needs students, obviously a dumbed down version of what an
Hmm.
actual yoga session was. It didn't sort of resonate with me. So what's the proper meaning behind yoga and how does that help? Because I know a lot of people use yoga to support with their mental health as well as their physical health.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And to the mental health piece, that meditation is so powerful for that. There's lots of science and research. Meditation's been studied so much, just connecting with the breath, watching it in and out through the nose, a minute, 5 minutes, whatever you've got time wise. And then in terms of yoga, that's how the body is moving. You're moving with the breath. I would encourage you lovingly to give yoga another go. It might have been the teacher, it might have been the style. There is so many different teachers out there and also so many other styles. You can move slow. You can also be in postures where you hold and you're supported by props. There's sweaty yoga, like there's so many styles out there. So lovingly, I encourage you to give it another try.
No, I definitely will. I'm open to try anything. What got you into teaching yoga? Why did you decide to go that route?
Yeah, so a coworker dragged me to yoga in 1999. I didn't know what it was. She knew I had a dance background. She thought I would be good, and I was in my 20s, so I said yes to anything and everything in the 20s. Right, we were kind of
Yeah.
trusting blindly, And I went along, and it was the hot and sweaty yoga, which I didn't mind because we sweat and dance. But the teacher was really mean and almost like a drill sergeant. I had an injury and I sort of modified what they offered and she scolded me. And I thought, yoga's supposed to be warm and fuzzy, like hippies and stuff. And thankfully, even though she was not my cup of tea, I decided I'm going to give it another try, see what this is really all about. And I do thank that teacher now because after I decided I wanted to pursue teacher training and ultimately step into the role of teacher, I have a completely different view about teaching. I am nurturing, warm, and welcoming. I want people to know that yoga is for them, even if I'm not the teacher, because I do like to make jokes and keep it light and fun, that at least they know yoga is for them.
And what's the process of a teaching course? How do you become qualified teacher?
Sure. So I'm not sure how it is in the UK. It could be similar. We have a 200-hour program. We have a 300-hour program. So in 2005, I pursued a 200-hour program. And when we say that, it sounds like so tiny, right? I feel like it's a single rice grain on a sushi roll in terms of understanding, right? Because yoga is vast. There's so much to know beyond that simple 200-hour training. Mine ran for 30 days, and we started at 4:20 a.m., went till 7:30 at night, Monday through
Well,
Saturday. Very intense, yeah, almost ashram-like, you know. And I learned so much about myself, my physical capacity, my mental and emotional capacity. And little did I know when I was in that training, which was June of 2005. I was in Arizona, in Sedona. I went home to California in July of 2005, and that's when my mom's diagnosis came with ovarian cancer. So I had been strengthened physically and mentally and emotionally in preparation for something I would have never known was coming down the line. So it really wrapped me up in what I needed, a lot of support.
and going back to your dance background, what type of genre did you enjoy dancing to?
It's modern dance.
And what's it about modern dance that you enjoyed?
Well, I guess it's the rebellion from ballet. So we don't dance in shoes. It can be about anything, everything, and nothing at all. I think Paul Taylor, he's a modern choreographer from long ago. He simply walked across the stage, or maybe that was Merce Cunningham. I need to get more brushed up on my dance history. But one of those gentlemen did something so simple as that. And, the reviews came pouring in as outrage. But why not?
Exactly.
Why can't that be dance? Who's to say, right? Ballet has a lot of rigidity and structure, and it's very beautiful. But modern dance has a lot more freedom, and that's what appeals to me.
And like obviously doing the modern dancing and the yoga is a lot about expression. Do you feel you need that as your outlet? Is that a way for you to express yourself and that's what you need?
Yes, to be creative. Yes, absolutely. Dancing in the kitchen right here where I am tuning in for this podcast, dancing in the grocery aisle with my sweetheart when he's all right with that.
I bet he loves that sometimes.
Sometimes, if no one's looking or watching, he's okay with it.
And you mentioned to me off camera about retreats and stuff. What are they, and why do you go along to them?
Sure. So retreats are times to get away from pattern and routine. So you might go somewhere local, maybe a couple hours. You can get in the car and drive somewhere to a retreat venue, or you might hop in a plane, go somewhere international for a week or even longer. And it's just a deep dive into a lot more yoga, more rituals, more time to connect with yourself on a deeper level, and also be in the company of like minded people. So, in the past, I've led co ed retreats. I have one coming up in June that's all for women. It's a time to be well fed and nourished, to really have all those householder things taken care of. So, you're kind of stepping away from the busyness of life, and you get a chance to just be.
Brilliant. And what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about going on a retreat but he's not too sure?
Oh, I love this question. That's a great one, Lee. So first, I would reach out to the teacher. So my first retreat that I attended as a student, I did not know the teacher. I just knew it was in Bali and I wanted to get there. So that's what was important to me. And now with social media, it's so easy to reach out to people. So send them a message and just, have a quick chat and see what you can learn about their teaching style. So it's a good fit, right? Because to join a retreat is an investment. It's an investment of dollars and also your time away from your family. So making sure it's a good fit. And then also decide, like, does it make sense time away from work, right? Do you have the time to take off? Do you want to be in a hot place? Do you want to be in a cold place? Right? Do you want to get on a plane, or would you prefer to keep it somewhere close where you can drive in a car? Those are some considerations when you're thinking about joining a retreat. And please, 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 even if you are new to yoga, you're welcome on my retreats. My last retreat in 2023, a woman came along. She had joined fewer than 5 Zoom yoga classes with me and no other yoga before that. And she did just fine. And we welcomed her. And I also have yoga teachers, other teachers join me on retreat. So I love to meet people as they are and share the yoga in that way. So lots of adaptation, lots of possibility. No one's left out.
No, brilliant. And how do you go around organising a retreat? Because like you can't just turn up in the middle of a forest or a beach or somewhere. So how do you find the right place, the right setting, and then come up with the program?
Yes, another beautiful question. So I love to go to the property. So around here in California, we've got quite a few retreat venues. So I hop in the car, I drive up, and I see the property, maybe have a meal, walk the land, get a lay for it, understanding for it, and see if I want to, go forward. If it's international, I have to have been to the country myself. That's just my hard and fast rule. If people are choosing to invest with me, I want to make sure I can deliver and meet expectations and also really understand the culture and the customs so we can sort of account for things like what if scenarios to the best of our ability. So I've been able
Sorry
to
to
take, yeah,
interrupt,
yeah, of course.
but when you get to a place, how do you know? Is it a feeling inside? How do you know
Mm.
that's it for you? Like,
Yes, yes, it is a feeling. It is a feeling because it's either serene or it feels a little frazzly, um, or it's just really so spectacular and clean, or it's kind of bare bones, rustic. I have some students who want, a little bit of the finer things. So, while I might be okay with rustic, I know they do not want to go glamping, for instance. They don't want to be intense. So, meeting their needs too.
and also, going back to how you create the program. So you found your place. How do you know how the days are gonna go? Do you plan them out before? Do you go as you meet the clients?
So I have time with that is structured and then lots of empty space. So practice times are on a structure, on a schedule, which people know in advance before even arriving. I'll send them a calendar, like, a schedule of the day each day. Meal times, practice times are on the books. If you want to have a massage, you can fit that in too. And then there's also space so that they can read the book, soak in the hot tub, walk the land, take a nap, do what they need to do. It's different from a vacation where you're like, boom, 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 I got to see this
Yeah.
museum and go here and there. It's a little bit, you know.
And the actual program itself, do you tailor that to the venue once you found it, or do you sort of have a set retreat program that you sort of copy over to different retreats when you're organising them?
Well, it depends. So with international, there are always opportunities to have cultural excursions. So when we went to Bali, for instance, I brought in a Balinese dance teacher and there was a
Oh,
dance
wow.
lesson. There was a cooking lesson. Yes, really. It's so
Yeah.
wow, right? I agree. They make these beautiful offerings in Bali. So we had a teacher come in and show us how to do that as well. So when it's stateside, there's less of those things to do typically. So there's more free time.
Mentioning internationally again, what sort of country surprised you the most when you was looking that you sort of felt really at home by when you went on your travels?
Yes. Well, I've been to Bali 3 times, and it's got a special place in my heart. I've also been to Guatemala 3 times, once with family, and then 2 times bringing people on retreat. And that was also a very special time as it's on the lake and there are many volcanoes in Guatemala. So it's kind of a magical place.
No, brilliant. And going back to your yoga classes, obviously you said you did do some of them online. Is that because of COVID? Did you have to pivot that way?
Oh, did I ever have to pivot? And Lee, oh my goodness, I would have students before COVID say, "Can't you just make a YouTube channel, Danae, and put some videos up?" And I said, "No, I'll never do that. Come to class. I want to see you in 3D. If you're okay with me putting my hands on you, giving you an assist, I want to do that. I want to see and hear your breathing." But yep, March 13th, we all pivoted. I sent an email that Friday and I said, "Look, you guys, we're not coming to class on Monday. I know how to use Zoom. We're gonna figure it out." I did not realize it would go on for as long as it did. And I don't appreciate learning that way. Like I like learning shoulder to shoulder as a student myself, but I really had to, pull up my yoga pants and get on board with it because I wanted to keep serving students. So I had to learn how to teach that way, and it transformed the way I taught. sat in front of my computer and I watched very closely, you know, and made sure I could offer as much information and detail, when people coming in and off of frame on their yoga mat. And many students joined me, and many more decided that wasn't for them because they were already spending so much time on the computer at work that they didn't want to do
To
yoga
look
on
at
the.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
But how hard was it to then transition back to face classes after 2 years of being on the computer? Did you find that tricky with your style of teaching as well?
No, not at all.
No, you just
I
slip back
I
in.
just got right back in. I was so excited. I first got into a couple of studios where I am based here in the East Bay of the Bay Area as a substitute teacher. I wanted to just to have freedom to kind of care for my dad, take a class when I can, teach it, and then But they really wanted to bring me on board, so they did, and now I have regular weekly classes, and I've they both have these consent to touch cards. So we're using that to make sure people are okay with that and want that or don't want that. And then we are respectful of that. But no, it's so wonderful to be with the people again and see them and hear the breathing. And it's the community. We missed it. Even though the little squares on Zoom gave us community, it had such a divide, you know.
No,
So
100%. So it was really weird because I worked in a special needs school at the time. We didn't shut for COVID.
mm,
So I didn't really get everyone struggled during lockdown because I'm still going to work every day. The only thing I couldn't do was get a haircut and eat in a restaurant. Other than
right.
that, I was still able to go to the supermarket. I was still going to work. And then my wife got ill, and that's when I then
Mm,
realised how the effect of COVID, because I had to watch her go off in an ambulance. I wasn't allowed
mm.
to visit her for like 3 weeks.
Oh,
And that's when you
heartbreaking.
then realise, actually, I can see why a lot of people are struggling with this. Do you think since coming out of COVID as a society, we've sort of gone backwards with our social skills?
Yes. Yes. I think people are still afraid. What they're
Yeah,
afraid of is I'm not so sure. I take walks in my neighborhood, and what I noticed even during the time of COVID, even the dog walkers like would pivot and cross the street, and before COVID, like if there was a dog, that was like the point of like interaction, the dog is curious, the owner of the dog will engage in conversation, and that's slowly starting to come back. But yeah, we've lost that capacity. Instead, we're like face down in the screen, which I guess that's going to keep me busy teaching yoga and helping you with better posture. But it's nice to be able to see people's faces, see the smile. We're all really brothers and sisters, so we should get on board with that.
no, 100%. Because naturally, human instinct is we're very tribal. So we like
Yes.
being around people, and then obviously
Yes.
with something like COVID, it segregated us all apart. And then, like you said, I've got that sense that people are scared to start socialising again,
Hmm.
just in
Hmm.
case. I think it just knocked everyone's confidence to
Yes,
be
there's
around
such.
each other, and it's such a shame because we need each other really. And I think that's why mental health's on the rise because the
Yes.
people ain't being able to support each other because everyone's sort of scared of each other, as you were saying.
Yeah, we're hardwired for connection, right? We need
Yeah,
connection. We need to have conversation with people. If you go into the coffee shop, people are in their phones or on their computers. It's rare to see someone reading a book, or even more rare, just somebody being with themselves and the person next to them. No extra stuff. They can just and have that conversation so easily. And I hope it will get back to that. I think it will. I think it's slowly getting to be that way.
yeah.
People are just a little bit hesitant still, but it's got to shift. We got to shift.
And is that part of what you look for when you do your retreats? So you sort of no technology, no communication, or do you schedule in times for that with people?
I lovingly encourage them to take a digital detox, right? It just makes sense. Um, sure, people have come when they've been parents or they've been caring for people and they might need to check in. So then I suggest setting some boundary and some structure around that so that you're not always on the phone, that you can actually be present with the people, be connected with the nature and enjoy the food, right? But I do offer suggest the digital detox because it's going to be great. The emails can wait.
Yep, exactly. They'll still be there when you open up your phone after.
Exactly.
And both as a student and as a teacher, what yoga positions or yoga techniques did you find first hard to learn as a student, and then secondly hard to teach as a teacher?
Oh, great question. So I think a hard pose as a teacher and as a student is what are the final pose. It's called Shavasana. And that's when we lay down and sink back into the floor. And as we first learn it, if body has a lot of tension, right? That's one of the reasons we come to yoga to let
Yep.
go of the tensions, not make more of them. Um, you're almost like, here's the body, and then here's the floor, right? So you're just sort of
Wow.
so tense, you can't even feel a connection with the floor in certain areas of the body. And over time, you're able to relax and know that you are cradled, held, and supported by the floor, and you can sink back and feel the floor and be received by it. That takes a lot of time for people to feel safe in the space, safe with the teacher, eyes open or closed, whatever makes you comfortable. But that's a hard pose as a student and as a teacher for sure.
And what do you think the boundaries are with human beings and stuff like? Because we walk on the floor, but then if you ask us to lay on the floor, we don't feel safe. Why do you think? Because it seems really weird because our feet are a lot smaller than our back, so you'd feel like having a bigger surface area, you'd feel safer, but you actually don't. Why do you think that is wired into our system?
I think some people are just they have such a hard time with rest.
Yeah,
We are coffee consumption consumers. I love my cup of coffee, no judgment if you're drinking coffee, but we have this weird relationship with rest. We feel like we have to go, 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 do, and then it's 10 p.m. and then we're on the phone,
yeah.
Instagramming, or we're on the Netflix, chilling and watching a movie. And then it's time to go to bed, and then it's time to wake up, and your sleep was crap. And then you rinse and you repeat. So we have to like get a reframe around that and prioritize rest and really make time for it. I think that's what's important and why Shavasana is so hard. And people lay down and go, well, I don't, this isn't moving. Also, there's a view like, this isn't effort. Like, where's the
Yeah.
effort? I'm not working hard. What's the point? Sometimes students even roll up their mat and completely skip it. And I always hope those students come back and give it a try because it's really such a gift to rest. We need to be resting.
No, 100%. And if people want to get involved in your classes or find you, where can they find you?
The best place to connect with me is over Instagram. My name, Danae Robinett, is my handle, or my website, DanaeRobinett.com.
And we'll make sure we'll put the links in the description so people can get to you quicker.
Absolutely.
Before we go, I've got one last question, and this question I ask every guest. But if you could be remembered for one word and one word only, what would it be and why?
Nurture.
Lovely.
Yes. So nurture because I feel I am the nurturer to others, and I am always in working on my own nurturing to myself.
Well, we've had a brilliant conversation, and thank you so much for your time. And obviously, I take my hat off to the support you're giving to your dad, and I hope his recovery gets better. But well done. Obviously, I can really resonate with what you're going through as well. So it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. And anytime you want to come back on and share anything else, you're more than welcome to. And good luck with the retreat in June.
Thank you so much, Lee. And I resonate right back with the caring you're giving to your wife. It's been an amazing time having this conversation with you. Thank you so much.